let's see, where are we? So this morning we set up our AWS accounts. We are now able to sign in via SSH and through the console. I'm going to do a bit more setup, and this is going to also let us demonstrate SCP. So as we talked about earlier, SSH is secure shell. It lets you sign in to a remote system from your local machine or from another remote system. And SCP is secure copy. What we want to do is set up a GitHub SSH key, which is going to be a little different from the key we're using to connect to the EC2 from our local terminals. And let's see, where are we? We should have these changes up now. So we've already gone through this pretty much, going through the CLI, having AWS CLI installed. And if you haven't, then you're going to want to run Brew install AWS CLI. And this will just make sure that you can run AWS commands, like seeing your configurations. With that set up, we are going to run through this exercise of setting up Apache on an EC2. So you'll need to be able to spin up your own EC2. You'll need to be able to SSH onto it. But before we do that, like I was mentioning, let's go back to day one and let's finish going through this SSH, which this morning did not have the instructions for creating an SSH key in GitHub. So we should have gone through all of this already. When you have your terminals pulled up, give me a thumbs up. All right, see you in a few. Cool. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a key locally. We're going to register that into our GitHub accounts, and then we're going to secure copy that key onto our EC2. What that lets us do is it lets us use this SSH URL when we're cloning. So up till now, we've been using this tab when we copy this URL. This is what we've been running locally to clone down repositories. Now, you can do this on an EC2, but you would have to configure your username and password, which no longer accepts a password like we found out on Monday. You would have to use the access token that you created for yourselves. SSH might be a little more of a pain in the ass to set up, but it's more secure. And once you set it up, it's easier to use. So that's what we're going to do. We are first going to create an SSH key in our terminals. And you do that with this command, one of these commands. SSH keygen creates an SSH key. The type that you create can be either RSA or one of the newer encryption methods. You could use either or. General rule of thumb is use the newer systems. And if you require compatibility with legacy systems, then you would use RSA. I'm going to go ahead and make this right here, if it lets me copy it. I'm going to name this.
Julius, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Kevin. Earlier I downloaded the SSH from the key from Slack,
Yes.
and I uploaded that. Well, I selected it for EC2 and I uploaded that to my local instance of my Ubuntu. So did I do that? Was I not supposed to do that, or were we doing something in addition to that?
We are doing something in addition to that. But
Okay, perfect.
let
Okay.
me point out right now, you said you uploaded it, you pushed it to where? Your EC2?
Yes. So when I set up my EC2 on the console, and
Mhm.
then when I did the awscli, let me go back. I caught a little bit of that earlier. So I created that hidden file, that hidden folder, and I put the that same key inside that folder
Okay. Okay.
on, on my local on my downloaded fork, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I want to point out a few things though.
Okay.
One, to minimize costs,
Uh,
we're usually not going to keep our EC2s up. We're usually
right.
going to destroy them at the end of class.
Okay.
There may be exceptions to this later on, but really all of what we're doing right now, pushing files up there and whatnot, creating files is for the exercise and the muscle memory. So just know that anything you put up there is going to be deleted.
Okay.
And two, this key is serving a different purpose.
Okay.
So that first key that we used, when we later on, when we get to deploying applications to an EC2,
Mhm.
that SSH key is one of any keys really that you can use to give yourself access to the EC2.
Okay.
You could use the one you create for GitHub as well.
Okay.
We are creating a separate one just to A, show a different method of creating one, and B,
Okay.
just to separate our intentions for them, right?
Oh, okay. Thank you for explaining that.
So when we're generating a key locally, we're going to be prompted for a passphrase. It's usually easier to leave it blank. Maybe that is less secure, but for demonstration purposes, it's a lot easier. Once you hit enter a few times, it's going to show you some random art as it says, and that is your key. You can verify that key by using a cat command, which is short for concatenate. I already see it here, so I'm not going to run that. And then you can use this command to add it to your SSH agent. So first, if you run this, you see that we do have an SSH agent running. And now I can add that with the SSH add command. Okay, so now we have a few ways to add this to our GitHub account, right? I'm going to show you, first I'm going to show you the way through the browser. If you want to do it through the browser, you're going to want to grab that value somehow, right? So you could use pb copy to copy the contents of that file. I'm going to do that right now. And then I'm going to go over to GitHub. I'm going to click on my profile. I'm going to click on settings. I am going to click on SSH and GPG keys. Here, I can click new SSH key, give it a name, and paste the contents of the key. I should use the new one that I made. What is that? -2. Okay. Name it GitHub. Now that it's created, it has essentially been registered to your GitHub account. I'm going to delete it so I could run through this again through my local terminal. So that's one way of doing this. You could also use the gh command to get it up to your GitHub account. So if you do go this route, you may have to authenticate, which I'm not sure I'll be able to demo because I just authenticated or re-authenticated, I should say. But let's see what happens. I'm going to use my new one. I'm going to close this double quotes. And yeah, it added to my account. Let's see. I can't remember off the top of my head what alias I have here to see my Zesh history, so I'm not going to bother digging for that. Just if you run into any issues with this, let me know. It's the same process we did on Monday where we added our personal access token. It shouldn't have to prompt you for the personal access token. It should just ask you to sign in and verify through the browser. So once that has been added, you could test with this command. And also let me know anytime if my text is too small and if you'd like me to make my text larger. Whoops. Cool. Looks like I am good to go. All right. Is everyone more or less at that step?
Quick question. It looks like it worked, but it did return GitHub does not provide shell access.
Yep.
Error, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, this is just the verification command. And this is exactly what we want to see. So now that we have created a key and we've registered to our GitHub account, we can now SCP that key onto our EC2. So if you're a new terminal and you haven't configured your Zesh configuration file to always source your AWS profile, then you may need to run this export AWS again. Otherwise, you could probably run this to see what instances you currently have running. So if I toss this in here, it's going to create a nice little table thanks to this output table. And I see that these EC2s are currently running. I'm going to use this as my example, this IP address here. I'm going to actually assign this to a variable, a shell variable, so I could reuse it and not have to type the whole thing out again. And I could also validate that by using echo. Cool. Now I can use my SCP. If I'm not in my SSH directory already, I can just use a symbol to create an absolute path to there, specifying that this is the key I want to use. Okay, so notice here, right? I have the AICO class.pem. When we spun up this EC2, this is the key we selected to allow us access to the EC2. So that's what the first argument is. We're still specifying, passing into this I flag, that this is where our identity is stored, right? Now I can pass in any files that I want to actually SCP over to the EC2, to the destination. So again, this first argument is for proving I've got access. And this second argument is the file that I want to send, file or files. And I'm going to use this syntax and this symbol, the star at the end. Some of you may already be familiar with the star symbol. Can anyone tell me what it is?
Wildcard?
Wildcard.
Yes, exactly. This wildcard lets us select both the keys that were created. And again, I need to do -2 because when you create a key pair the way we just did, a private key and a public key are both created, and you will need both on your EC2. So now I can type EC2 user. That is the default username for Amazon Linux 3. And I am going to pass in that variable so I don't have to type in my IP address again. You'll then do a colon to
Hey,
specify.
Julius, one quick question. Just to just to change up what we had kind of done earlier, when you gave us the PIM from before and we put it on our machine, we only needed one file.
Mhm,
And we needed only one file because we were getting in.
mhm.
And now we need two files because we're also letting people in.
Yes, for the for on the EC2, yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank
Yes.
you.
On that EC2, that's going to allow us to pull contents from our GitHub accounts onto the EC2. Okay, so this colon here basically lets the interpreter know I'm done passing in the path for the address I'm trying to connect to. Now I want to pass in the path for the folder hierarchy inside of the system. And I just want to send this over to the home directory on the EC2. So I'm going to use my home directory symbol and // to end the path to let the interpreter know that this is a path that I'm trying to pass to you. So I'm going to hit enter. It confirms that my files have sent. And now I can SSH onto this EC2. Cool. And if I do an ls, I should see my new keys. Oh, I should say then, I guess, if a lot of us are using the same names for our keys, maybe you can pass it into the directory that you created, right? So, Monica, for example. So we're not overwriting each other's stuff. Let's see. So once you've confirmed you could do that, then you would just, from here, move it into your SSH directory. So my user or my key would be, well, I've already created a .ssh folder in here. So if we do an ls-a, we'll see the .ssh, unless I deleted it. Nope, there it is. And then I can move my GitHub AICO-2, or I could use my -2 with a star with a wildcard into that SSH directory. And from there, I can grant some additional permissions using chmod. This is going to grant permissions to the directory. I've already ran this earlier, but I'll just do it again. Then we want to do 600 for the private key and 644 for the public key. Now we can create an SSH configuration, and we do this using concatenate. Concatenate along with redirect. Did you guys cover redirect earlier this week? It's another shell symbol. You could use it in one of two ways, with a single forward caret or a double forward caret. Does anyone Anyone want to take a guess as to what the difference is between the two?
One overrides and one appends.
Exactly. So normally you're not going to want to overwrite your configuration, right? You might already have something in there, so you want to add on to it. So we use a double forward caret, and here's another strange quirk about the redirect. It can go both ways, right? So it's like we are sending a command into this file, and then we are also taking the contents of this into that file. So that's kind of like some strange shell syntax, but that's how we would create a file. All right, once we make that file, we would then change the permissions on it. And you should be able to validate that you have a connection with, whoops, that pasted way too much. Again, with the same command we used earlier. Cool. And now I can finally clone a repo. Let's just grab one of these. Might already be here. So AI delta git clone. Right. By habit, I think I clicked on HTTPS. I'm going to want to click on SSH. So git clone with this SSH command, and now voila, I've got my repository on my EC2. Cool. Any questions?
Julius, when you're done here, I'm gonna need you to go over this entire thing with me, make sure my computer is set up. I'm I'm completely new to this programming, so
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stuck on the I seem to no longer have AWS CLI wherever I'm at. I was doing it fine, and then all of a sudden now none of the AWS commands work. So I'm not sure if it's because I'm in the wrong folder structure or if I'm just doing it wrong. It seems to be the step where it says export AWS profile, but I don't know what the profile name would be that I would be exporting.
Okay. Would you want to share your screen?
Sure.
Okay. Can you do a brew install?
Sure, I can do it again. Yeah, I can do it again. I like earlier today I was doing it fine, so I feel like I'm just in the wrong folder or something, but sure.
I just want to see what it says. Brew install AWS CLI.
Okay. Well, I'll have to stop. So it's installing. So I guess I didn't have it, but I did. So I'm not quite sure why I had it before and it was working for accessing.
I think what might be happening is we'll have to look at your Zeech configuration, and maybe we can do that in a breakout room later on.
Sure.
If it's not sourcing properly, then it's not going to be able to identify the brew casks that you've already installed. So basically, every time you open up a new shell, your interpreter can't find the packages that you've already installed.
Okay.
So we should be able to fix that in your Zeech config. Okay. And George, I'll hop into a breakout room with you as well. If you have an EC2 spinning, get on it. We're going to run through some additional setup on there right now. If you don't have an EC2 spun up yet, but you can spin one up because you're not blocked, then spin one up. And we will move on to the next part of today's lesson. All right. All right, so on an EC2, we can essentially do anything on there that we could do on our local machines. We'll just have to be mindful that this environment is using a version of Linux called, well, whatever version of Linux we selected, right? And I selected Amazon Linux 3. So I can't use commands like brew because it's not available, which is why we saw earlier we used dfs command or dnf. But now, oh no, I think this might still work. Let me actually sudo apt. Yeah. So now I have to translate these commands to work on an Amazon Linux 3 because this was written for Ubuntu. Luckily, I can just ask my handy dandy AI. So I'm going to also pull that up so I have it available here. While that's spinning up, or I guess it's already done spinning up, what we're doing is we are going to install Apache. Apache will allow us to serve a static web page, and we could use this to basically run an application, right, or a front end of some kind. We're using system control commands to start the Apache, which is pretty common if you're already, and you should be familiar if you've been using a Linux. In addition to this, we will just grab some files using wget, and we will configure Apache to serve those files. We'll then see if we have time to run through installing Node and building a very simple React app. All right, that is the plan. All right, back here, I need to scroll down to we're already done with this. We've already launched an EC2. We've already SSH'd onto that EC2. Now I need to ask, can you convert these apt commands to DNF or Amazon Linux 3? And it should understand all of this. System control should be fine. Yep. So it's just the package manager that we really have to convert. Okay. So Yum is an older package manager that has traditionally been used on AWS Linux images. It should still be available. Let's see. Because I don't think DNF has completely replaced it yet. Or in any case, I guess it wants us to use DNF anyway. Okay. So now that I've got that run, I'm going to try this next command. Which looks like it might have copied very poorly. So I'm just going to try this. Nope. Okay. Command's not found. So let's see if Mistral knows what it's talking about. Right? Cannot find this. Ooh, 3 strikes. So I'm just gonna do whatever it tells me and see if we can reach some kind of resolution fairly quick. If not, then I'll switch over to ChatGPT or Claude. How many of you all use ChatGPT and or Claude and or Gemini? One hand, two, three, four, five. Do you use all of them or do you only use one of them?
I use GitHub Copilot and I switch back and forth depending on how I feel.
Okay.
And using Claude.
Just Claude?
Yeah, for the coding, yeah.
Okay. Yes, Claude is pretty good for coding. It tends to wrap context a lot more effectively than ChatGPT. ChatGPT seems to have more character and personality, which makes it great for non-coding tasks. Let's see here. Where are we at? We did this. If it shows Amazon Linux 2, shows 3, follow step 3. Oh, 2023. I've been telling it Amazon Linux. Okay, that's on me. We are actually using Amazon Linux 2023. So let's see if these new commands work. Let's strike 4. This looks like it's working though, so let's see. Okay. That seems to be working. That is not working. All right, anyway, I don't think we need to do at this point, once we have it installed, we could just do command that we have listed here. I don't know why the preview makes it so hard to copy. Not found. Okay, it's telling me to run this command to see if it returns any results for HTTPD. It doesn't. So let it know it returned nothing. Okay, so it's going to tell me to run this again. I'm going to tell it, hey, this didn't work because it didn't. I don't have a lot of experience with Mistral or Quen. I don't play around with them too much, so I'm trying to get a feel for how reliable they are over time. So far, it's not providing a lot of help. Let's see if Gemini is any better. Okay, so far so good. Yes, what's wrong? What's up, Kevin? We should see what.
that you boot the Apache page, the Apache default page when we
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the IP address.
Oh, you have it up. You have it up and running?
Yeah, but I'm on Windows. Did it a little differently.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that's what you should be seeing.
okay.
Okay. I'm gonna try. Okay, cool. So on different distributions, Apache might be named something different. It looks like on this one, it is HTTPD. So whoops, that's what I'm going to use. Whoops. And it looks like it is running. Cool. Okay. Says open the IP of my server. Where is that? Where is it telling me that? Let's see. Work. I didn't see IP address. I think that's gonna do anything. Let me see. What I could also do is want my inside. I want to grab mine. Let's see if I still have my EC2 IP address. Nope. Different terminal, so it's cleared out. I'm going to try my AWS console. I just want to confirm that this is good to go. Going to look for my instance, which is maybe on a different region. Okay. Let's open this public IP address. Nothing. Cool. So now my Apache is running something. Let's see. Let's go ahead and by the way, all I did here was when I first clicked on it, it opened up as HTTPS, which is a more secure method than HTTP. And so I just switched back to a less secure protocol. And it lets me confirm that I'm seeing what I need to see. Okay. Now that we know this is up and it's running, we can stop the server so that we can update the file. And again, because I am on Linux 2023 and not Ubuntu, I have to remember to always use the right name. Right? I've stopped Apache. I could run a status to see that it's stopped. It says it's been disabled. Now, let's see if this location exists. Different operating systems may have different setup locations. Cool. Looks like this at least it's been created, but I don't see anything in here. So let me ask Gemini. On my Amazon Linux 2023, this directory is empty. Is there another directory where my index.html might be? I do not want to run that. What are you saying? Okay, it wants me to run this. Okay, so there's a configuration in these directories. So let's see what's in there. Cat D. Oops. Right, I am just using some terminal commands to just dig around, see what's going on here. It's been a very long time since I've played around with Apache. I'm just trying to familiarize myself. Doesn't look like there's anything in here that I want. What I'm looking for in particular is where there might be a configuration set for the index.html. And if not, then I may just continue with the lab to see what happens.
Just another question. You have to go through this because you did a different AMI, right?
Yes.
Is that why you have to? Okay. We're supposed to do you
Yeah,
go to version 22, right?
yes. So yes,
Oh.
you're supposed to if you want to follow the instructions.
Okay, just making sure. Oh, you're pushing yours. I just want to make sure because I got it set up and I'm looking at you like, did I do something wrong? That's my first thought. Okay, good. I was able to. Okay, great. Okay. So this is how to think outside the box and leverage AI to problem solve in case you want to try different ways, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Sorry. Just want to make sure I stepped out. Okay.
Of course. Okay, so interesting. I found something here telling me that the root is this directory, which is the directory I was looking at earlier, and I didn't see anything in there. So I wonder if by default it's just empty, right? Because I do remember Kevin, when you first said, is this what we're supposed to be seeing? You said you saw the Apache logo, right? And we didn't on mine. We just saw the words, it works. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we create files in that directory anyway. So I'm gonna go back to that cd var www.html, and I'm gonna run this sudo wget. I don't remember if I ran wget on Monday, but if you watch the video that I recorded after failing to record on Monday, I did demo wget and cat img. wget lets you grab files, and one cool thing about it is it lets you specify a file format. So websites that will force an image to download as a WebP image, for example, you could just pass in that URL and output it to a PNG or JPEG or anything you want. Okay, I am finishing typing this out. Nodal dash jump raw master index.html. I'm grabbing 3 files from a GitHub repository: an index.html, a main.js, and a style.css. And for those of you that are familiar with front ends, you should know what all of this is. For those of you that are not, these are essentially your main ingredients for a static web page. HTML is essentially our language for defining the elements that are going to be rendered by your DOM, your domain object model inside of the browser. You could think of it as essentially, I don't know, the origin of all the things you see on your browser, right? We then also have JavaScript to allow us to run more complex logic that can't be done with simple HTML. And we also have a style sheet using CSS, which is a cascading style sheet. With these 3 files saved in here, I'm going to restart Apache. I'm going to dig around for whatever I used earlier. It should be stopped, so it should be okay to just do start, and then I could do status, and it looks like it's running. So let's see what happens when I go back to this URL. Whoops. Command-Shift-T failed me. Let's see. Right, we were in AWS. We need to go to US East 1. We need to go here, open the address, switch to, why does it keep doing that? And now we have our Dojo Jump game. So that is how you spin up Apache on an EC2 and serve some static content. All right, how's everyone doing? Are you all just about here, more or less? Cool, few nods.
Well, for me, I'm on the step of transferring the SSH key to EC2.
Okay.
Like I'm in the process of editing the config file.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're
Yeah.
transferring that, I mean, we're all transferring it to the same EC2. There's already a config file in there. Do we like an extra config file or
No, sorry. I mentioned very briefly that if you're not already on your own EC2 to spin one up.
okay.
So you might have to backtrack a few steps to get up your own EC2 so that you can run through the rest. Okay. We have one more exercise that I want to run through. And this one should be fairly quick as well. And then we could open up breakout rooms and I'll hop in to help anyone that needs help. All right. So I see yum. So it looks like this should have been written for AWS 2023. So I shouldn't have to do any conversions. For those of you that are on Ubuntu, you probably will. Let's see. Right, I'll preview. What we're going to do now is set up another. Well, actually, no, we're not doing another web server. I think I thought about doing that, but we'll just set up React for now. We are going to do a sudo yum update y. Later on at some point, we'll set up and demonstrate a different server called Nginx, which works pretty well with React. All right, I'm gonna scroll down to the right section because I got messed up here. Okay, so first we need to update our system so that it can install Node. React.
Real quickly, Julius, sorry to interrupt. So we're free to just spin up Amazon EC2 instances as we go through this on our own and then shut them down?
Yes, exactly. So we've got a little tool that we run through Slack. It's called Bloodhound. It basically will alert us if EC2s have been like running for too long, and we'll just an instructor or TA will then just like let you know, hey, this EC2 has been spinning too long. Either ask you to shut it down or ask you if you're using it and shut it down for you.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Right. So if you're not familiar with React, React is a framework that is very popular. It is designed to be reactive. It's fast. It allows for smooth animations and state updates in your browser. And it's also really handy for developers because when you're developing in React, changes you make to the code update in real time, which makes developing, well, I don't want to say it makes developing a total breeze, but it tends to fly by a little faster when you don't have to rebuild over and over. So more about React is it is a JavaScript based framework. And because of that, it utilizes Node. And so we're going to use the Node package manager. If you recall, on day one, we talked about three package managers: Brew, which is a shell package manager specifically for casks; pip, which is Python installs, I think it's actually called pip install Python or something like that, which is the Python package manager. And then we talked about Node, which is, or sorry, npm, which is the Node package manager. So let's run this curl command to grab the latest, or not the latest, this is set up 18.x. That's fine. We'll just update it. This is a very old version, but we'll leave it as is. So we could also then demo a Node version manager. So it looks like that's been installed. Now, if I do this sudo yum install -y, which I assume is for auto approve or auto complete, we also then pass in node.js. Now I could verify if it's installed. Looks good to go. I think this was already installed here from earlier when I was running through it during lunch. So we'll still step through the updates because if you're following along, you might have to do that yourselves. So this doesn't look like this belongs here. This has to start an Apache web server. It's not right. That's really weird. That's really out of place. So we'll skip those. And then we'll start with these. I wonder if these got, or no, it's the preview thing. The preview keeps scrolling back up. I need to scroll through the actual markdown file itself. Okay, so with Node installed, I can now install a React app. So I'm going to go to my home directory. I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to that folder. I'm going to create a React project using Vite. Vite is sort of, well, first, it's French for fast, I think, or quick or something like that. And it's become a very popular, essentially, kind of like a package manager, I guess, for React. It's a lot faster than NPX, which was what used to be the most popular way to install React. And I'm going to pass in a few details, like specifying that I want a React template. It's going to ask me if it wants this experimental build. I'll say no. I'll say yes to this. And so what this does is it essentially grabs every dependency you need to create and run a React app. Now, notice how it's serving its development build locally, and that's what this is. It's starting a dev server. That's what happens when you run npm run dev, and it looks like Vite does that automatically for us. It's local host, so it's local to the EC2 that we're on, right? So that means we can't really view it through our local machine because local host on our local machine is different from the local host on the EC2. So let's see if we can get around this. I actually haven't tried this, but we'll try that in a sec. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use another SSH command wherever it is. And I am from another terminal going to jump into my SSH directory. I'm using auto jump to just teleport there. And I already have the command here, but I'm going to type it out just so we could see it. SSH-I, again, for our identity. I'm already in the SSH folder, so I don't have to specify the path. I'm going to do -L. I'm going to do 5173 local host. I'm mapping basically my port 5173 on my local machine to a listener on the EC2. And this is creating a tunnel. Whoops. And if this is the same IP from earlier, then this should work. And once that's up, should be able to. Oh, I might have to stop Apache, and we'll see. Yeah, because that's still serving me. Sudo systemctl. That looks wrong, but we got to spell out the whole thing. What was I doing? Sudo systemctl start httpd. Oh, wait, I'm stopping it, right. Stop httpd. I got to stop. This should go away. And I did this earlier. Let me see. Might be missing something here. I created the tunnel. Let me see. npm run dev. Let's see what's going on here. Right, I'm going to go into my directory and I'm going to try again. Okay, I might have to do host. Oh, it says 5173 is already in use. Is that what I was using?
You might have like a zombie process running or something.
I
And so
must. Yeah, from earlier probably actually. So let me do this specifically with a different word. Okay. Nice. And there's my React app. Cool. Any questions? All right. I'm going to open up breakout rooms. We'll get everyone up to speed and squared away. We've already ran through these labs. So there is a challenge that has us expanding on what we've already started. LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MariaDB, and PHP, my PHP. And we're going to use these things to host a very simple blog using WordPress. So that is today's challenge. And think of this as a stretch goal. If you get through everything and you're all caught up, then give this a shot. I think it is a little longer and maybe a little more challenging. So again, it's a stretch goal. This does not need to be completed. All right. I am going to cut the recording and I'm going to open up breakout rooms. And we've been here for a while, so let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break as well. Cool.